welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're tackling a financial framework you've probably heard of, the 50-30-20 rule.
Yeah, that classic one.
Right. Pretty simple idea. 50% of your income for needs, 30% for wants, and then 20% for savings and investments.
It's a great starting point, gives you a clear structure, but, the financial scene, especially for young people right now, it's always changing.
Exactly. And that's really why we dove into insights from those fictional podcasts, Paisa Wise and Paisa Power. We wanted to see how this rule holds up for young individuals in India specifically, looking at 2025.
Mm-hmm.
Our aim isn't just to go over the basics again. It's to uncover how it's being adapted, for the economy today and what young Indians are actually aiming for.
And what's fascinating is the basic idea. It still works, but how you apply it, the emphasis, that's shifting quite a bit. It's more of a template, really, not strict rules.
Okay, let's get into it then. First slice, needs, the big 50%. Now, from what we gathered, the basic definition here is, pretty much the same, isn't it?
It is, yeah. Needs are still those core things you absolutely have to spend on.
Like rent.
Rent, yes, or your home loan EMI, groceries, utility bills, electricity, internet, that sort of thing. Basic transport for work, too, the non-negotiables.
Got it. So no major curveballs there. That's kind of the bedrock. Okay, let's look at wants, the 30% bit. This feels like where the 2025 India context might add some twists. What fits into wants?
So this is all the other stuff, the discretionary spending, things that make life more enjoyable but aren't strictly essential.
Okay,
like eating out, your streaming subscriptions, maybe some travel, hobbies, buying the latest gadget, that kind of thing.
The fun stuff. But one of the podcasts, I think it was Paisa Power, mentioned a 2025 catch here. What's that about? What should we watch out for?
Right. The key point they stressed was needing to be really mindful about tracking this category.
Tracking. Why specifically now?
Well, with aspirations rising among young Indians and, potential inflation always lurking, it's easy for something that starts as a want to slowly feel like a need.
Lifestyle creep.
Exactly that. Lifestyle creep. And it can seriously mess with your budget if you're not paying close attention.
That's a really good point. Being honest with yourself about what's really essential versus just, nice to have. Okay, let's move to the last 20%. Savings and investments. Now, this seems to be where our experts on Paisa Wise and Paisa Power see the biggest changes for young Indians in 2025. It's not just putting money in a savings account anymore, right?
Not at all. The message coming through loud and clear is that this 20% needs, a much more proactive and strategic approach for young Indians today.
Okay.
Just having a basic savings account, it probably won't cut it for hitting long-term goals anymore. The big emphasis now is on aggressive investing, making that 20% work smarter, not just harder.
Aggressive investing. Okay. That might sound a bit daunting to some people. What does that actually mean in practice, based on what the sources said?
Sure. So the podcast gave a few examples. It means actively seeking out investments with higher growth potential, not just playing it safe to preserve the capital.
Right.
Things like considering systematic investment plans, SIPs,
I see SIPs.
Investing a fixed amount regularly into mutual funds helps average out the market ups and downs. They also mentioned things like digital gold as another option to look into.
Okay, so diversifying more, aiming for growth within that 20%. But it wasn't just about financial products, was it? I remember one expert, maybe on Paisa Power, talked about upskilling as an investment. That struck me as interesting.
Yes, absolutely crucial. Investing in yourself, in your skills, your knowledge, to boost your future earning power that's explicitly framed as part of this 20% investment strategy.
That makes sense.
Learning new skills, maybe certifications. It can open doors to better jobs, higher income down the line. So it's a really strategic use of that money.
I like that, framing personal development as part of your investment plan. What else did they mention for this evolved 20% for young folks in 2025?
Building up an emergency fund and doing it fairly quickly was another key point.
Right, the safety net.
Definitely. Given life's uncertainties, you need that cushion. And also, the idea of diversification within the 20% came up repeatedly to hedge against inflation, Don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Okay, so this whole shift in the 20%, it really reflects the ambition we see in young Indians in 2025, doesn't it? And this need to kind of future-proof their finances and careers.
Precisely. It's about being more forward-looking, more active in building wealth, recognizing that you need to keep pace in a fast-changing world.
So let's tie it all together. Thinking about 2025, is the 50-30-20 rule still relevant for young people in India?
Absolutely. The consensus from the sources we looked at is, yes, it's still very relevant, but it needs that 2025 update, as one expert called it.
Or a smart savings approach, I think the other one said.
Exactly. The basic structure holds up, but how you execute it, particularly that 20% for savings and investments, well, that needs to be much more dynamic, more focused on growth.
Right. So it means being really aware of the wants, making sure needs are covered efficiently, and then having a smart, proactive, diversified plan for that crucial 20%.
That sums it up perfectly. It's about tailoring the rule, making it fit the economic reality now and the specific goals young Indians have in 2025.
Okay, so the takeaway seems to be framework solid, but for young Indians now, the big change is how you handle that 20%. It shifted from just sort of passively saving to actively strategically investing across different things, including, interestingly, investing in yourself, all aimed at building that secure financial future.
That's a great summary. The core idea is timeless, but the adaptation, that dynamic investment-focused 20%, that's the key thing for young India today.
It really highlights how even these established financial ideas, they need to evolve, don't they? Adapt to the times and who they're for. It's not one size fits all.
Indeed. Being financially aware and, importantly, willing to adjust your strategy, that's essential for managing your money well these days.
So, for you listening, maybe the question is, how can you make your 20% work smarter? And maybe take another look at your wants. Are any blurring the lines, feeling more like needs than they perhaps really are?
Yeah.
Asking those questions seems like the first step to really getting a grip on your finances in, well, India's current economic climate.
And it makes you wonder, too, beyond what we've talked about, what other maybe innovative ways might young Indians find to grow their wealth and skills moving forward? Something to think about.
Definitely food for thought. Well, thanks for taking this deep dive with us today. We hope this gave you a clearer, maybe more useful view of the 50-30-20 rule for young India in 2025.